It's Friday. Let's get freaky. Hey everybody, it's JDV here for EvilGeniusEntertainment.com. Stop on by our homepage. You can pick up some t-shirts, hats, other swag, and cool stuff, including soon we'll have exclusively our 5 Must Die will be available on our homepage for Halloween, our last feature film. There's some filmmaking news to get to, and this filmmaking news is actually relevant to people who actually make movies, and that is the next generation of cameras by the big 3 camera makers, Panasonic, Sony, and Canon, are all coming up this month, all within like 2 or 3 weeks of each other, and all of them have some pretty spectacular features. If you are interested in picking up a camera for yourself to make movies or short videos or blogging or anything like that, stuff for YouTube, go ahead, and I'm going to link down below the video I'm going to do about the new camera belts. And there's just some amazing new tech coming out, and hopefully it will help independent filmmakers get out some cool content. Well, as usual, there's nothing really all that great come out this weekend from Hollywood. In fact, I look at the top 10 theatrical releases from last weekend, Labor Day weekend, and what would typically be a pretty huge movie weekend, every single film in the top 10 made less than $1 million at the box office, and I had heard of none of them. So Hollywood continues to be in the grips of COVID-19 and the ramifications of not having any movie theaters be open, or at least very, very few. Now, while I think that is going to change for next year, I think by the time January 2nd rolls around, I think most movie theaters will have reopened. I don't know that that guarantees that audiences are going to come back to movie theaters, both out of a fear of getting sick, and also a lot of the stuff that's coming out isn't going to be that great. We're already more than a third of the way through September, and more releases have been canceled. In fact, I'm not sure that there's any major films still on the schedule for 2020 anymore. I think they've all been either distributed on video on demand, like Mulan, or they're simply not going to be released in 2020, and they're going to be kicked down the road a bit. There has been some release dates. I believe Paranormal Activity 7 and Minecraft are both going to be released. I believe it's March 17th, but sometime around mid-March. At least that's what they're saying right now. And Scream 5 with the original cast will be out sometime in January. They actually moved that date up from late January to mid-January. I think it's the 14th or 15th for Scream 5. Not sure it makes a whole lot of sense, not just to release those on video on demand in time for Halloween. Why? Because they're going to make $100 million at the movie theater, or $50 million? I just don't see that happening. Now, maybe, Tom Cruise and James Bond will be able to make some money in 2021 in the second half of the year. But these lower tiered movies, I just don't know that they're going to make the same kind of money that they would have had there not been COVID-19. So we will see. In terms of releases, there isn't anything new at the theater. Netflix is catching all manner of crap right now for the film that they signed, and I guess it comes out tonight, something called Cuties, which apparently has a bunch of underaged 11, 12, 13-year-old girls either semi-naked or in some cases actually naked, and it's just essentially, it's been described as soft-core child pornography. Netflix is getting just absolutely hammered across the board by just about everybody for this. I don't understand how something like this can happen. I don't understand how it can get made, and I don't understand how it can get released on a place and platform as big as Netflix. Netflix has a lot of things going right for it right now. I'm just not sure how they could make such a massive mistake, number one, or why they would make it. I mean, I'm not sure who they think the audience is for a TV MA style film with a bunch of young people, other than, I guess, they think it pushes some kind of agenda, but it's pushing the wrong ones. And it's right now, cancel Netflix, as I record this, is trending pretty hard on Twitter, and I don't blame them. Now, I canceled Netflix a while ago, not because of this, even though I had heard about this a while ago, but because my kids wouldn't stop watching The Office. So, I got that. Some sad news in the land of movies and television. Diana Rigg, who played Mrs. Peel in The Avengers, died of cancer today or yesterday. And for anybody who is old enough to remember watching The Avengers on TV, and I am one of them, if you were a young man, it was very hard not to see the charm and allure of Diana Rigg in that role, because she was just, not only was she a beautiful woman, but she had charm, she was smart, she could stand up to the leading men, the villains, and Patrick McNee, as John Steed. She was fantastic actress in everything from Broadway plays all the way up through Game of Thrones. She did just about everything. She was just an amazing actress, and one of the rare actresses that was simultaneously amazingly sexy and beautiful, and witty and charming, and seemed very down to earth. It's a very rare quality for anybody to have, male or female, and she had it in spades. She was just amazing, and it was really sad for me to hear that she had passed. I think she was 83 years old, and she died of cancer. So rest in peace, and prayers go out to her family. In terms of what I'd recommend for this weekend, it is the 19th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in New York and Washington. And it's sort of fallen by the wayside, people remember. In fact, I think I've really only seen one sign anywhere referencing it as I drive around town. It was at a gas station that said, never forget 9/11. And I think a lot of people have. And some of that could be understood, because if you're a millennial, you were either not even born, or you were just a little kid, maybe 5 or 6 years old when it happened. And so the film I'm going to recommend this weekend is a film that it's a really interesting film, because it deals with the ramifications of that attack 19 years ago today. And really what it looks at, it's the King of Staten Island. It's a very good film. It stars Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live, who essentially is just playing himself. But so what? Most actors just play themselves. Robert De Niro is, a crazy person who's kind of violent. Well, that matches, the characters he plays. Pete Davidson is, kind of a legendary stoner, and somebody who is quite charming and actually very good actor in the movie, but has some serious problems, kind of based on his real life story, because his father was a firefighter and died on 9/11 when the World Trade Center collapsed. And what the movie kind of does is looks at his life, or someone who has a life very similar to his character anyway, and shows the really negative impact that happened on him, of having his father be idolized in one way, because he was a hero, died trying to help people. On the other hand, he wasn't there for his son. And the movie does a good job of not only analyzing the drama of that, but keeping it light. There are a lot of jokes. It was directed by Judd Apatow, who really hasn't had a good movie since Knocked Up. Well, he shows you that in King of Staten Island, that he still has the ability to direct. It's sort of shot almost like a Richard Linklater film. It's very kind of low budget feeling, shot a lot on locations. There's a lot of sort of independent filmmaking kind of feel or vibe to it. It almost feels a little bit like Trainspotting by Danny Boyle. It has that kind of maybe almost Kubrickian dystopian feel to it, only it never gets that heavy. There's a really funny scene where Pete Davidson and a bunch of his friends are kind of all sitting around in the middle of the day. None of them have jobs. They're all getting high or drinking. And, just basically losers. And then somebody, says something about millennials. And then one guy says, oh man, millennials, I hate millennials. And then Pete Davidson says to him, we're millennials. So it's an odd movie in that it's not kind of like the the heroic films about 9/11 that came out a few years after the attack. Rather, it's kind of almost more a somber comedy about the long-term effects of this attack and what it did to people. And it is actually quite a touching film. I love Pete Davidson. I think he's got incredible amount of talent. He's, sort of a gangly, almost Gollum-esque looking man. And yet, there is a realness to him. There's just something about Pete Davidson that when he can kind of keep it together, he really is quite a good actor. And so I would recommend seeing King of Staten Island this weekend. You can watch it. I think I rented mine from a Redbox. I pimp Redbox because I think it's cool that you can still get DVDs and Blu-rays out of a place that's not video on demand. I know it's on Amazon Prime. It's probably on a few other video on demand services. I think it might be a $5 rental at on Prime. So it's definitely something you want to check out. Okay, so that was this Friday's, film fest, fun time, intro, something, blah, blah, blah. If there's something you'd like me to bring up on the next show or upcoming shows, let me know. Thanks for watching. We'll have a new Two Fat Drunks episode coming out sometime next week. Love each other. Like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. Till next time. Mwah! See you at the movies. If more than 34 of you watched, I'd probably get sued for that. But, we love you though. 35.
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.